Okay, hello everybody. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. So it's good morning here in Nigeria, depending on where you're joining us from this special day. I would like to welcome everyone to this SCALE Masterclass in celebration of the Customer Service Week. So we decided to do something special. We have very interesting things planned out for today. And most importantly, we'll be diving into a timely conversation based on the reports that we shared on our LinkedIn and our website platform last week, speaking about the pulse of the customer, understanding that digital experience on Nigeria HMO apps. And since we're in customer service week, we thought it would be nice to just reiterate some of the things that our customers have been speaking about, some of the experiences that they've shared with us in terms of relating with their HMO on their mobile applications. Now, this session is anchored on our will be sponsored by it was sponsored greatly by ZER Consulting Africa, and my name is Rita Additional. I'm a project consultant with ZER Consulting Africa. I'll be the moderator for this 1 hour session, just an hour session. And I have two special people with me in the studio today that would be, giving us more insights, data-driven discussion on what consumers are saying, how we can make their experience better. Joining me today, we have Dr. Adeola Olatunji, our very own senior health consultant at ZER Consulting Africa. And we have a special guest in our midst as well. We will be having Obina Osuji. He's a co-founder at Medismart. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you for joining me today.
Good morning, Rita.
Today
Thank
we'll
Thank
be
you.
you.
on. Thank you. So today we'll be unpacking how empathy, design, and technology can work together to transform the Nigerian healthcare sector in terms of, especially we focus on their HMO and the experience that they have when talking about access to health insurance. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you,
Before
Rita.
we Okay, before we get into the data, so there's a report currently on our LinkedIn, ZER Consulting Africa. It's on our website. I can also drop the links to the reports on this group chat so that anyone that wants to flow with us better as we're having this discussion can have access to the reports that we'll be diving deep into today. So before just to kick the conversation started, before we get into the data, to you both, from your professional lens, how have you seen customer expectations evolve in the last 3 to 5 years when it comes to digital health in Nigerian space?
Ladies
Should I
Doctor,
go
first.
first? Oh, ladies first. Thank you. Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Rita, for the introduction, and thank you, Bina, for being here with us on the masterclass.
Thank you.
So, to your question, how have I seen customer expectations evolve over the past 3 to 5 years in the digital health space? I would say that a lot more people are used to having things online first. So before COVID, I would say before 2020, 2021, it used to be that you have a service and online and then an online thing complementary to it or building on it. But after that, when a lot of things moved online based on need, it became that many things just became many services just became online first. Telehealth became much more widespread because people expected to be able to just pick an app or even via WhatsApp call these days and get and talk to a doctor. So that's one thing I've seen, the expectation that okay, online is not, it's not optional and it's not an add-on. It's it should be there, part of the foundation, part of what you start with, I would say.
Yeah. I,
thank you.
I, I I
Thank you very
completely
much.
agree. Yeah, I totally agree. From my perspective, gone are the days when people I would say were ignorant about healthcare, health insurance in general. Um, I remember when I started out my career, and the first place I worked, the typical HR comes and says, "Oh, part of the benefits that you have is health insurance." I didn't know what it was. I didn't know the name of my HMO. I didn't know what services I could enjoy. So every time I went to the hospital, I paid out of pocket. I just didn't have enough information to
Oh,
enjoy the service being offered. Now that has changed today, right? And I'll credit it all to the advent of technology getting in and I'd say disrupting the space. So nowadays, people have access to their mobile apps where they can see all of the benefits that they have on their health insurance plan. They can see healthcare providers that they have access to, whether it's for primary healthcare services, secondary, optical, dental, and the likes. So that has changed. People are now savvy, so you can't, they say bobo anybody anymore. You can't, just come and say something and disappear. People are going to hold you to account. They now have the means to double check what you're saying and selling to them that it's the same benefits that they get. So a lot has changed in that aspect. Yeah.
sure, sure. So what I hear you would say is Dr. Dola saying COVID has basically changed everything. So technology is no longer a nice to have. It's probably an essential future people are looking out for. And Obina, what you just basically said is transparency is the name of the game. With the advent of the technology and the apps and various adaptation to the new technology, people are no longer expecting you to just say you have HMO, but just in writing, not in practical, like
Yeah.
your previous experience. So transparency is the game. Thank you very much. Thank you for that insight. So, Dr. Deola, what was your first impression when you saw the findings from the report? I understood that you were very
So
involved
when,
in this and all. What was your first?
thank you. So maybe we start with why what brought about this, why this topic, and why did we choose to do this. So and then I would come on to what surprised me and what maybe confirmed sentiments I had. So what brought this about was last year I was doing some market research and talking to people about health insurance, and some names kept coming up among providers, among managed care providers, and some experiences get coming up like, oh, these guys, they have a beautiful app. I love them. My employees loved it. We are sticking with them. But these guys, yes, we are just okay with them because they have this. But if we find somebody else, we'll change. So that was just on discussion with people in the public, anecdotal information. But I wanted to make it more concrete. I wanted to shed more light on it and maybe derive useful information, more useful information from it. And so we decided to look into, okay, so who is winning this game exactly in the HMO space? Who are the winners with the customers and who are not impressing the customers? But then that evolved, in the process of that, that evolved into, okay, so the ones that are winning, what are they winning at? What aspects of service provision are they winning at? And that's how we ended up with this report, like what's delighting the customers and what are they not happy with. And so what surprised me in the report is the number of people that don't have, I mean, that's not directly in the report, that's something incidental, but the number of people that don't have health insurance, the number of people that just maybe message that, oh, they don't have a HMO or whatever, their employer doesn't have a HMO, they're a freelancer, they don't have a health insurance. The number surprised me because I thought that gap had closed a lot in the past 2 years. The other findings that surprised me also was how happy people were with the user interfaces. How easy is it for, the question was how easy for you to navigate the app and find things. A lot of people were happy with that. Yes, I can find things easily. Now, whether what I'm finding is what I want to find is something else. But a lot, I was surprised that, oh, a lot of people say, oh, the app looks cool. And I find it easy to use. That was a nice surprise. What didn't surprise me, of course, is the claims aspect, because it's in insurance. It's known that claims is the moment of truth, when people find out either, oh yeah, this works really nicely as I expected, or yeah, they will be shocked. And so that's, I hoped it to be different, but the results also reflect what happens in the insurance industry.
Okay, I have some comment regarding your claims experience, not to be biased to the insurance industry, but when it comes to claims, I think we need to probe a little bit more further to understand what is actually making them dissatisfied, since that they are not the final consumer, are not the ones the HMOs or the insurance companies we pay to. It's the bank, it's the partners, the partners that they're working with. So what exactly is the customer then complaining about in terms of their disapproval or dissatisfaction? Is it because they need to send a mail beforehand to say this? But that's just fine. This is just my thoughts, not necessarily because I want to put you on the spot or something. Let's say maybe for your next report, these are things that we could explore to try to understand how we can make that experience better for them.
Okay, but so if I can just answer that, some of the respondent left comments, and I think for the claims thing, what record frequently was people saying they just don't know what's going on. Okay, so my approval is I've sent it. I know they are working on it. Or my reimbursement, I've paid for something they're supposed to reimburse me. When what's happening? Is this question of what's happening and when are they going to answer me? That just keeping people hanging, as we say in Nigerian parlance, just this hanging thing. Customers don't like it. It's better for me to
Okay.
know something is coming in a month or something is coming in 2 weeks than to say, oh, we're working on it. Okay, every day. It's just this hanging feeling that I mean on responses from the surveyor.
Yes, yes, I get what you're saying. Get that perfectly well. Thank you very much for that insight. So, I'm still Dr. Obinasi. I'm already in the medical profession. I apologize. So, Obina, going by what Tadela Adebo mentioned, she had said that something that was not really surprising to her was the fact that many people don't have HMOs in Nigeria compared to how she would have expected. So, from your own point of view, what do you think an average Nigerian consumer wants when it comes to their expectation for health?
Yeah,
What do
that's
you
an
say?
interesting one. I would say two things. Number one, they don't want to pay for it. The average, consumer or average Nigerian citizen really doesn't want to pay for health care, health insurance. And we see it play out in the numbers, right? The In the private space, you find that it's mostly corporate companies that um, you know, s- pay for health insurance for their staff. The retail space is still very, very, the numbers are still really low when it comes to retail, which is people um, deliberately going out to buy health insurance for themselves. So that's one thing I've noticed. And another thing I've seen also is that for the people who have health insurance, whether they bought it on the retail side or through their company, people want value for money. They want value for money. They they quickly see it as this expense or this cost that they don't get anything out of if they don't get value for money. And so if you marry these two things together, you would see that, or well, at least from my personal perspective, we kind of need to uh, have serious conversations around universal health, coverage, whatever form. That's for the policymakers now. Whatever
Okay.
form that will take or that should take, there's a lot of conversation ongoing about it right now. In fact, I'll say for the last couple of years. So my hope is that we get to the point where You don't have to pay an arm and a leg for health insurance. That is universally available and that people get value for money.
Thank you. Thank you. So basically saying Nigerians don't want to pay, and even if they're motivated enough to pay, they don't really trust the value that they might get from it. Because something similar to what Kade Keyo said in the comment box. So Kade is saying it seems like there is a low level of trust. Out of pocket payments might be more expensive, but more reliable since it is a plug and play. HMOs still have a lot of work to do in building trust in the model as an option for targeted users or customers. Basically saying HMO might need to do a little bit more work in terms of building trust for retail customers. Maybe they've been able to corner in the corporate customers, but the retail customers are not budging with their money. So if they want them to drop their money, they need to do much more things to build trust. Something might be, I know some HMO does it, but it's something that it's not really open to everybody. But cashback, what do you think as of cashback as a means of getting value for your money or even building trust in that sense of things to help with the penetration or to help convince the average Nigerian consumer? Dr. Obina.
If I could, okay.
Yeah, so I've seen one or two HMOs advertise it. Whether or not they eventually follow through on it is a different matter altogether. But it's really not easy. It's a difficult proposition to have and follow through because the concept of health insurance, in case most people are not aware, is that this pool of money comes together and um, based on probability, statistics, and all the other sciences out there, a certain number of people are going to need healthcare. The hope is that you don't have more people who need healthcare or at a cost that will, consume the entire pool of funds that you've amassed. And so when you put that into context, things like cashback and all that, it's not really, I think it's not ideal. We should invest more in education. That look, you're paying into this pool so that in the event, because it's insurance, in the event that you do need healthcare, it will be there for you. Now that's where the operators and regulators and healthcare providers need to do the work to make sure that at the time this person who has been faithfully paying into the pot needs healthcare, they don't start telling them stories. So is it a good incentive? Yes, it is. Should it be a long-term strategy or a long-term play? I don't think it should be.
Okay,
If I
fair
can
enough.
just add to what Obina said, thanks for that question. I think, yeah, so there are as Obina said, you look at the statistics of the pool of enrollees you have, and then you craft proposition based on what you think will make the pool sustainable for you as a company and will deliver the best value to your enrollees. Um, while also noting the environmental things, the things in your in your business context that might make health insurance appealing or unappealing to your customers. So there's a certain pool of customers that this cashback thing would appeal to. In that, okay, I'm not just paying, I get something out of it. So whether I'm whatever, however it is structured, I think also people like that. Okay, this plan I'm paying into it. Okay, guaranteed. I don't pray to be sick. But let's say, but what do I get? Do you mean I just pay 150,000 for the year and that's it? Not nothing. And then next, I'm fine by the grace of God, as we like to say. And then next year, I'll pay another 150,000 again, and then I will pray not to be sick. And then, okay, then I start to ask some. So maybe I start to do some unnecessary utilization and go for things I shouldn't go for, just to just in my mind to create this like, okay, I'm not just paying for nothing. I'm getting some things out of it. So I think this cashback proposition can appeal to people with those kind of sentiments. It's also good if providers let enrollees know, okay, this you can do this, for example, screenings or basic checks or something to create this feeling that to create the to engage to engage the enrollees that, okay, you are part of the plan and you've not just paid. You can do this, of course, with the costs well managed and the statistics well, ordered. Um, that you can do this just to keep engaged and not and to disabuse people from this feeling that, oh, I just keep paying every year, I don't fall sick, that means the money is gone like that.
Yeah. So I guess it's a win-win depending on the audience you are speaking with. Then you'll be able to also drive whatever value proposition that they might get from it. So that's just one strategy. But I think, as Ibn has said, you could also look at education people within that segment that want cashback to also want to buy insurance without the sort of, just understand that this money is for everybody, not just me alone. So education might convince them in that direction. But thank you very much. I like to say a little bit of, I don't know if it's the devil's advocate, but the fact that we are all on opposing sides of what cashback can do in the industry is something that is very interesting to see. So I have a question here. Given that digitalization has kind of moved faster in other industries like finance or mobility, for example, we've seen digitalization in how we with money pay, money point, Opay, no Opay, these various fintechs in Nigeria. We've seen it also in mobility with Uber, with lag ride. We've seen it with even food delivery, how it has affected various parts of other sectors within the within Nigeria economy. What do you think can support adoption of digital healthcare in Nigeria? Dr. Obina, please. In terms of infrastructure, what do you think might be something that would support adoption of digital healthcare in Nigeria?
Okay, so these other sectors you mentioned, right? Finance, mobility. If you follow the money, you also find that this is where the highest spend as a country. This is where we have the highest spend, you know. In terms of investments as well, if you look at maybe using the yardstick of the foreign investments that have come into the country, either through companies raising funds from VCs and the likes, you see that the fintech space, mobility space have a disproportionate number of in terms of investment sums coming into those sectors. You don't have the same for healthcare, right? If you look at government spend, you know, Nigeria as a whole, how much does the government commit to healthcare in its annual budget? The budget for 2025 is just about 5% for healthcare for what 240 odd or so million Nigerians. Some say 280, right? 5% of the budget allocated to healthcare for 280 million Nigerians. And so the money is flowing elsewhere. That's the summary of what I'm saying. And we need to increase the spend. We need to increase the investment in healthcare. If we do, then all this, what you mentioned, will naturally happen. Digitization, higher increase in terms of, or
Adoption.
penetration in adoption, yeah, healthcare or health insurance adoption, all those things will flow naturally, right? It's because we are not investing enough. That's how I'd summarize it. We need to see more investments in the healthcare space.
I think that's very, very apt. But Dr. Adola, over to you now. How do you think Nigeria's regulatory and infrastructural environment, so seeing that Obina had even kept the groundwork to say government is not spending in the healthcare of its people. So what do you think regulation wise now would help us, overcome this challenge or help us increase the adoption of digital healthcare in Nigeria?
So I think that actually recent regulatory movements have tended to support more digitization. For example, the data privacy regulations. I think, and so the regulation recently has tended to support this move to digitalization in healthcare and in other spheres. Now, It's one thing to have the regulation. It's one thing to have the capacity or the infrastructure to to
Enforce it.
implement it at scale, right? So regulatory wise, I think the regulators are doing their thing. They are creating the 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 environment or the frameworks that help consumers trust the digital systems.
Okay.
Now, that trust is a foundation. Systems need to be built on it that enable digital health intervention scale. And then, so on top of that comes things like costs and language barriers and manpower and capacity and stuff like that. So all those other things need to be brought into the mix in the right amounts. Also, as Obina mentioned, capital needs to come in to enable these investments, and patient capital, not not the
Yes,
capital that
without
wants to
investment.
quickly cash out, because healthcare is a more long term thing. Yeah. So to answer your question, regulatory, I think the regulatory environment is supporting also the move towards more health coverage for more people nationwide with the NHIS and also with the private sector. The recent data privacy regime, I think they are supportive. What needs to come on top are the other things that will enable the system to scale.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adiola. Thank you for that. And touching on capital, like you mentioned, we have a comment here from Kadi as well, speaking to capital. He wants to sample our thoughts in the house to know what we think on combining insurance as a model of investment. So, how would you think when you combine insurance as a model of investment? He says that personally, I think in terms of value, okay, retail customers sees insurance as an expense as opposed to an investment or investment security and value addition might up. What are your thoughts on that? So, do you think insurance can double as well as back? What other kind of investment way can we spin insurance to do? You just mentioning your own idea of view to say how customers can get value for their money. So aside maybe cashback, which other investment story do you think you can spin to encourage customers? Aside education, education is just open. So aside education, aside investment, do we think maybe we can say transfer of your of your insurance to another person? Would that be a sort of investment enough to motivate customers to keep being in the HMO space?
So, if I can take that question from Kate, is asking if health insurance can be considered an investment. Yeah, so from the perspective of a business owner, I think you should consider it as an investment in your people. You are ensuring that the people that help you generate, that help you delight your customers, are taken care of at their moments of need. Yeah, so you pay for it, but my position is to consider it as an investment in the health and well-being of your people and in the wealth and well-being of your organization. So if I look at it at that perspective, but if he's asking if there are other ways health insurance can be considered, like for example a financial investment, or if there are other ways health insurance can be structured, I know that there are different kind of plans. There are, for example, health savings accounts, which is a form of health insurance in that you put your money in a pool, and then if you don't use it, you get your money back at the end of the year with some interest. So it's like a savings account, but just for health related needs. That generates some, so that if the enrollee or if the employee then needs to access the health savings account, needs to pay for some health related costs, they dip into that their own pool or their own wallet, and that covers it. If they don't, then the account generates the fund there continues to generate interest. I think that's
Thank you.
one model that can be considered, the health savings account.
Thank you very much. Makes sense. Thank you for bringing that dynamic to this conversation. So, Obina, I would like to hear from you. What do you think of empathy in terms of design application? What do you think empathy might look like for a mobile HMO user? Can you just share an experience, if you have any, of how maybe a small design or whatever it is that you've been able to work with
Yeah.
has
Okay.
created a
Okay. The connection seems to be breaking, but I got the question. So we build systems for people, right? And that has been like I would say our mantra at Medismart. We're not building for the sake of building. We are building systems for people. And so a lot of the initiatives, innovation, and everything, it's really come from feedback that we've gotten directly from people. And one key area that is still a problem, it's such a problem that even the NHIA came out to provide a clear guideline, and that's when it comes to waiting time. The NHIA has said the maximum waiting time should be 1 hour. uh, People go into the hospitals and or healthcare providers, not just hospitals, and they are unfortunately forced to wait for an unspecified amount of time. They never really know how long they are going to wait before they get access to care. And then you speak to maybe the front desk person, and the person says, "Oh, we've sent your request to the HMO. We're just waiting for them." Right? And so one of the things that we did was to make it a two-way communication between, or a three-way communication, if you may, between the healthcare provider, the patients, and the HMO, so that nothing is lost in translation or in transit. The HMO gets real-time notification that there's a request from the provider that needs their approval, whether it's SMS, email, on the software itself. We've created every available option for them to get it, even WhatsApp, right? And so there shouldn't be any excuse of, oh, we didn't know they sent a request. That's why it hasn't been dealt with. Now, that's on the HMO side. On the healthcare provider side, we've done the same thing, bombard them with notifications when the approval comes through. So then again, they can't say, oh, we're not aware. And same thing on the patient side, right? We recently, in the last couple of months, introduced push notifications in addition to SMS, in addition to email, in addition to WhatsApp, which we've been doing before, so that you get in four places notification that your approval has been granted, right? So even if the healthcare provider hasn't attended to you, you can walk up to them to say, look, 15 minutes ago, yes, you said um, you were waiting for approval, but I got approval 2 minutes ago or 5 minutes ago. Can you please check so that you can attend to me? Now, at that point, there's no excuse. If there were inefficiencies in the system, it will force the healthcare provider to, double check that the approval has come in, confirm the approval. Let it be that there are other issues. They can tell the patient, oh, you have to wait. Maybe there's a queue, or there's, they are waiting for some other process to complete. But the patient will not be in the dark as to where the problem is coming from. So this is one thing that we built and we continue to drive to also do our part and help make sure that because I also go into the healthcare provider from time to time, and I see these things firsthand. And so at the very least, it cuts down waiting time and doesn't keep me there longer than I should be.
I think it is a very, very lovely initiative. Like it was even like you answered my next question for you, but I would also like to sample your thoughts on it. But what you mentioned in terms of the various channels of communication, and it's something that could also help with the claims approval process or the satisfaction. If there's enough transparency from the customer to understand that this has been approved from the HMO, and whatever delay is happening is not on the HMO's point of view, it would also help them when they're
Yes.
trying to raise their claims process, or as the case might be. But from what MediSmart is doing, like I like to give them a kudos in the forms of communication that they are adopting. But that I've wanted to ask to know what do you think, or how do you think you're able to meet the distance between tech savvy people and non-tech savvy people, and what's inclusive design? What do you think inclusive design looks like? You might have mentioned a bit your previous explanation, but just I'll give you back the floor if you can tie it in, if there are any other things missing. What do you think we can do to meet or close the gap between tech savvy people and tech savvy people? What
Yeah,
do you think inclusive design looks like? How do we target the older generation, meaning that they might be the one that has more health problems and they also have more money to spend on their health? So how do we just balance those two parts in terms of technology?
yeah, great question. So I've been privileged to see or experience, access to healthcare in Nigeria and access to healthcare outside of Nigeria. I'll say in the Western, one of the Western countries. And there's something that they have adopted, which I think would, go a long way to address what you've said if we also adopt the same thing. And that's recognizing people who are vulnerable for whatever reason. We never, or let me not say never, but we haven't kind of imbibed this um, design language around vulnerability, people with special needs into our culture. And so it shows where you walk into many buildings and there's no wheelchair access. Just to give you a practical example. So very smart inclusive, that was a wake up call for me to also start to think along the lines of creating avenues for taking care of people who are vulnerable. Now, the elderly may fall into this category or will fall into this category. It does in the West, right? They see them as vulnerable because, they are old, they might not have a grasp on technology and the modern trappings and how these things work. And so in cases like this, you indicate if you have special needs, if you have specific needs. And so this feedback goes into, goes back to the operator, and they are able to, you know, um, initiate the whatever processes or protocols they have for people who fall under this category. So they might not be savvy enough to understand what a push notification is or to go. They might not even have an email, not to talk of going in to check if they received an email notification. So the operator in this case should be placing calls to them or whoever their designated contact persons are to relay this information, right? And that's just one example. There are several other ways that thinking through the needs of these people will kind of drive the kind of systems that we design. Not just software, even with like I said in my example, how our buildings are structured, how easy is it for people to be able to access care when they need it most. So lots of work to be done there, but that's something at least I'll say based on my experience, we are now working to make it part of our design language, true and true.
Rita seems to be Rita. Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
she's
thank you
back.
for that. I think that was very important. The fact that we don't have most
Okay. I'll go ahead. I think I saw a question coming from Kid a minute
that
ago.
has been shared aspect of things to people that are vulnerable and show customer centric innovation.
So Rita, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. So, Kate is asking, how do we champion excellence through customer-centric innovation? Mm, so, how to answer this question? I would say that when you are designing we whatever innovation in services or in the digital space or in whatever in technology, the the human is in the center. This what you are designing will not be used by itself and will not be used by machines. So if the human is not centered, um, what are you designing for and how can you excel at it? So even if you have designed some amazing app, it's beautiful, massive, super functionality and everything. And I would not rate it as excellent if the people you want to use this app don't like it or are not using it. So I would say customer centric innovation or centering the human in your design, in your service design, in your technical design or whatever is a basis for designing it for embedding excellence in what you're doing. So that looks like you are designing a health insurance app, for example. Test it with people. So you have this what's that thing? The wireframes and everything. You have the lovely concept. It all looks nice on paper. Test it. Ask real people to use it from different segments of the society. From older people, younger people that are within your target group of users. Don't select ideal people. Then they can use it and give you feedback. Oh, this looks really excellent, but when I try to use it, I cannot do this because I cannot hear, for example, or I cannot see this because I'm colorblind, or something like that. Then you can see you have designed. Then you take their feedback, integrate in what you are designing. It could also be a service, and then you can say, okay, we are excelling we are championing excellence in our innovation or in our design because we have centered the human and the needs of our users are well addressed by what we have designed. That is how I would say you champion excellence in innovation. Obina, you are the more digital person. Maybe you have a response to that.
Yes, I mean, just to add to what you've said, right? I have been quite practical in some of the conversations we have internally as a tech company, so that we are not building castles in the air, as they say. So, like, yes, it's good to look at what other people are doing, what other countries are doing in terms of healthcare innovation. And there's AI, there's robotic assisted surgery, there's telehealth, there's fantastic stuff, right? Good stuff. And while we should keep that in view, it shouldn't, for me, it's not a priority to jump that far into the future when we don't have certain basic problems solved, right? And so, on our part, one of the things that we've been trying to excel at is to even build a reputation in the marketplace as a platform that never goes down, as a platform that has very few downtimes, as few as humanly possible, because no system built by a human being can run indefinitely, right? And making it possible so that at any point in time, anybody using our platform needs to access healthcare, they have all the information they need to get the care that they need. So even getting to that point where we are, I would say, a bit satisfied with the numbers that we see, hasn't been easy because we operate out of an environment that has serious challenges with internet, challenges with infrastructure, you name it. So building around these problems is also not easy. You have to, like I said in one of my posts, you have to have backups that have backups that have backups because something will go wrong, and so getting to that point would then give us, I'd say, the platform to then build on the more, the nicer things, the more cutting edge initiatives and innovations that are out there today. So yeah, that would be my take.
Thank you very much, Obina. Just to ride on that, piggyback on that, can you share with us a success story from MediSmart or any other project that you've been involved in that really helped improve user satisfaction or trust with me in terms in digital HMO experiences?
Okay, so we get a lot of feedback personally. I mean, people, because we are service providers to the businesses, in this case, the HMOs and the health insurance companies, most people don't know that we exist, right? But when people go out of their way to find the company behind the technology platform they've been using to, send a commendation, it's very thoughtful and it warms my heart. And so one experience that we had was a user reached out, found a way to reach out to me and said that they are really grateful for the mobile app because before they had the app, it was a problem just for them to even know, the policy details, to have information about their policy. You know, person traveled and you're in a new state or you're in a state outside of your primary location, right? And you fall ill. What do you do? Our technology answers this question. So you're able to find healthcare providers within your network or within the network of your HMO, and you don't even need to have carried your ID card. You have a digital ID on the your app itself. So you simply pick the one closest to you, and the app will tell you at least within certain kilometers the closest providers to you. So you simply walk into the closest one to you. You show them a copy of your digital ID card, explain the situation that you are out of station, and they'll be able to attend to you. And so that user was very grateful to be able to experience that and compared it to what he or she had experienced outside of the country. And I patted myself on the back to say, well, not bad, not bad, not bad. And one other thing that, from the HMO perspective now, is two examples. Now, we've had more than one case where a HMO has said that the reason they were able to win a certain business is because they were able to show the technology platform from start to finish, showing the entire customer journey and how technology is able to, power the process of going through that journey. And they were able to win, significant business. So that makes us very happy as well. And the last example I'll give is when it comes to keeping track of your numbers. As a business, especially in insurance, if you don't track your numbers, you are going to die. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you go out of business. So one of their major pain points is to have a platform that, it stays ahead, not even up to date, but stays ahead in terms of even giving you trends, in terms of, sounding the alarms when you need to make certain changes or when you need to take certain steps to, protect your pool of funds, because you could run out of funds. It's a very real risk that a HMO can run out of funds and be unable to fulfill their obligation as an insurer. So those are just, I could go on, but those are just three
No, no, no,
examples.
no, no. This is
For
actually
sure.
very wonderful. Thank you. It's a very, very wonderful stuff. From the user going to do a lot of research to understand what is the technology powering these people. How am I able to get my enrollee number despite me not being close to it physically at home or not even being in my environment? And he used the application from MediSmart. No, the technologies from MediSmart. Let me say the word application. He used the technology from MediSmart and was able to, resolve the health challenges he had without a lot of back and forth or ask. So that was perhaps the best experience they might have had in Nigeria so far, to the extent of them saying compared to when they went out of the country. So this is very, very good. And also very spot on the project that you mentioned with regards reporting. Most reporting are always as is, but the technology from MediSmart is a reporting that covers to be, like, in the future, raising alarms, raising sounds. So that is very, very, that is basically saying that we have detailed notification, escalation points, and to help put business owners, both the insurance providers, in check to know how they would balance themselves before getting into debt or the reddest of the red book that they can. So
Rita, if
thank
I
you
could come
very
in.
much. Yes, please.
Yeah, so what Obina just, the example he just gave of the customer that looked into the app and dug until he found the company
The owner.
that crafted, that designed the app. I think that directly answers Kate's question of how do you champion excellence in innovation. So it was obvious in using the app that a lot had changed, and the patient, no, the enrollee, not patient now, the enrollee felt served, felt and was delighted enough to dig in to find who made that app. I think how much better can you champion excellence like that? And that's just evidence that the app was, or the app, yeah, in this case was well designed, thought about the needs of the customer, not just the needs of the company that gave the contract in this case, but thought about the needs of the customers and was able to meet them. And not just meet them, was able to meet them in a way that delighted the customer enough for him or her to investigate. So that's how an example of how excellence was championed in innovation.
Thank you for drawing that conclusion, Dr. Adiola. So, even in the spirit of excellence and experiences and the customer service week that we are in now, I know that Obina says that we should not think too much in the future, but it's from thinking about the future that we can act accordingly in the present. Dr. Adiola, let's imagine that in 2027, what do you hope will have changed about how Nigerians experience digital health?
Um, So first of all, I hope more Nigerians will be using digital health solutions, would have the capacity to use them and the infrastructure that is, that works well to make access just easy. Like I need to do this. Oh, I can do this on my phone, or I can do this online easily. One more thing I think should have changed is this is improved certainty, that I know that when I'm contacting my HMO through the app, I don't need to still call them. I don't need to know somebody on the inside. I don't need to email them. Whatever message I have accessed through the digital solution they provided has the same priority level, has the same access level as other access channels. That's what I hope will be just a normal practice or a normal experience for consumers by 2027. Like to just be that, okay, I'm getting whatever notification on app, I'm reaching out to them through the app or through SMS or something, and I'm certain that they are working on it. And I know that they are working on it, and I'll get the response by this time across all HMOs, not some and some. Rita, did I answer your question?
Yes, it does perfectly well. Thank you very much, Dr. Adiola. Thank you. So,
But I would like you to ask
we
Obina.
have a
Obina
question from.
is the is the futuristic, not futuristic digital person. How would he answer that question rather concisely?
Yeah. Okay. So going back to what I said about getting the fundamentals right, what I'd like to see going forward is having a number of these issues solved. So right now, if you because I'm closer to the customers, right? If you ask a healthcare provider today, what's your biggest pain point? They will tell you, aside from getting approvals faster, they will tell you the turnaround time for claims processing. right? When they submit claims, when are they going to get paid? Can they be paid on I would say, a constant or a predictable schedule, you know? And because they are the last mile, they are the guys that they, providing care. The interaction with the enrollee or patients is more direct to them. And these people go out of their way to, try to solve issues around power for themselves. They need to stock up on their inventory of supplies, whether it's medication, consumables, so that they can render service. So it's their biggest pain point when they've spent all this money and they are unable to recoup it in a timely manner in order to restock on their supplies and make sure that their businesses keep running. So you hear them say that is one of the biggest pain points. Unfortunately, it's not a problem we can solve directly, but what we've done and we continue to do is to leverage technology to make it easy or easier for the health insurance companies to process claims on time. I see a question from Adielu how AI is being incorporated into their app. So that's one area where we are doubling down on AI in order to um, process claims a lot faster and a lot more, accurately. Let's say with better accuracy than humans. So yes, humans still have to do some of the work, but let technology do the heavy lifting is what we are trying to accomplish. So that this way, if it's maybe used to take claims are submitted say at the end of the month, maybe it used to take 2 weeks to process the claims and have it ready for payment. Can we do it in 1 week? Can we do it in 3 days? These are the questions that we're asking to see how we can make all of this possible. And also on the regulatory side, kudos to all of the initiatives, kudos to everything that's been happening so far, but we also like to see the fruits of it, especially even having the mindset shift that healthcare spend should be up there with some of the other areas in the budget that seem to have priority today. Healthcare should be up there. There should be significant investment. Right now in Nigeria, we have an adoption rate of less than 10% of Nigerians, have one form of health insurance cover or the other. Less than 10%. That's not a very great statistic. I would love to see that number maybe double or even possibly triple, in the next 12 to 24 months. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Obina. I said Doctor once again. Thank you very much,
Honorary doctor.
Doctor of Technology, perhaps. That might fly. Doctor. So Kama says that how can HMO access the most undeserved underserved part of the population that may be using the future phones and no smartphones. So the underserved part of the population that may be using the future phones and not smartphones. So just in like a 30 seconds, Dr. Adela, can you just give us that response in 30 seconds?
I would say we design for feature phones, and that design question will be answered by Obina. But I know it's possible because I've not always used smartphones, and I currently use a health insurer whose app I do not use. I'm one of the people, but I still get I am covered, and I still get all the notifications I need via SMS. But that's a design question that I think can be answered by Obina.
Yes, so feature phones, like you said, the two ways to reach them are USSD and SMS. And long ago, we solved this problem by building them into the pipeline for engagement and reaching out to people at that level. And so we'll continue to build on this and double down on this. Then another thing I would like to see, hopefully, is the resurgence of primary care centers. I'm old enough to remember when my mom would take me to a primary care center just down the road of where we live. And you could get basic care there, you know. So of course, this primary care centers are run by the government. But today, I can't remember the last time I saw anyone very active. The few that I've had the opportunity to come across are not really functional anymore. So that used to be the first point of interaction. Working there, if there's now need to do anything beyond that, so there should be that synergy and handshake where they are also plugged into the technology framework to be able to take the conversation further from that point if needs be. So you don't really need to have any form. You should just know where your closest primary care center is and walk into it. That's what I'd like to see.
Hopefully, if the government can increase their budgets for the health sector, that might be just revived again to prioritize the underserved areas. But thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Dr. Deola. Thank you very much, Obina, for joining us on this special customer service webinar session. We did well to just deep dive into the consumer reports on digital health experiences in Nigeria. Your input has been very, very valuable, and I'm sure our audience would have also enjoyed it in one way or the other, because we could also attest to how engaging it was. Thank you very much, Kate. Thank you, Adeolu, for your questions. Kamal, we see your questions. Thank you for making this session a lively one. And not to take much of our time, I would all wish us a very good day ahead. Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Rita.
Thank
Thank
you.
you